Good morning, everybody. My name is David Zakariaie. I'm currently the CEO and founder of a software slash hardware company called Glassic. Um, and I am also one of the original 1,000 people that were chosen by Google through the 2012 developer conference to receive a Google Glass. And I've had it since the beginning of last year. So I've been working with it for a while, and I think I've learned enough about it so far that it won't probably be a consumer device for at least a few years, but it definitely has a great potential to be used in the business world and especially in market research. So with that, let's begin. So I want to start off with, I'm not going to go through all of these, but these are a few uh, types of questions that a client might want to uh, get the answer for through market research. And by the end of the presentation, I want to show you how we can use Google Glass to answer these questions with types of data that we weren't able to get before. So questions like how will a customer react to a decision or change of a price of a product? Why does a customer change his or her mind about purchasing your product after they saw it in the store? Who or why does the customer, who does your customer consider your competition? How effective are banners, TV advertisements, things like that. And also, how can you get to know your customer better so you can customize your products or customize your marketing plan to better attract your customers. So before we begin, I want to give you a brief overview of Google Glass for those of you that either are not familiar with it or your only source has been the media, which hasn't done the best job recently. Speaking of Google Glass, so what is a Google Glass? A lot of people say it's a wearable, it's a wearable smartphone, it's a hands-free computer. But what Google Glass is, and the original purpose of Glass, is to be technology when you need it, because we all love what technology does for us, but it's a bummer when it gets in the way of our lives. And one of the ways that a Google Glass does that is that uh, a screen is above your line of sight at all times, so it's always there when you need it, but it's never distracting you. So these are a few pictures of Google Glass. It's very strong and light. It has a solid titanium frame. It has a very evolutionary design that is made to snap into all sorts of different types of frames, including prescription frames as of yesterday. So how does Google Glass work? So it has all the components you would find in a normal smartphone, except a cellular antenna, and then it also has a bunch of other sensors that we can use some market research. So it has your battery, your processing unit, your GPS, your camera. The way the screen works is you have a prism with a slit in it, and you have a projector that reflects the image and it bounces back, and then you can actually adjust the glass prism so you can see glass at the exact angle that you look. Um, so you can position it exactly how you need it, and the prism focuses the image directly on the retina. So some of the core functionality that's built into Google Glass, very simple stuff. So the home screen looks like this. You see the time and it says OK Glass. OK Glass is the command that you use to turn Glass on and start using it. Funny enough, one of our developers we work with has hacked it. So instead of saying OK Glass, you say Avengers Assemble. You can say take a picture to take a picture. You could record what you see hands-free. You can even share what you see live through Google Hangouts. Directions appear right in front of you, but they're always above your line of sight, so it's not distracting. You can speak to send a message, an email, or simply take a note. You can ask whatever's on your mind, and Google answers. You can translate your voice to over 100 languages. And through Google Now, it displays information that you don't even have to ask for based on your location and what Google knows you have planned for the day. We have to skip that. So Google Glass meets market research. So from my understanding, the market research process has 4 main steps. So you articulate the research problem and its objectives, and then you make a research plan of how you want to go about and solve whatever the problem is. You present your findings, and then based on your findings, you decide what to change to, at the end of the day, better your sales. So the 3 steps then to enhancing market research is to enhance the process of collecting the data and information and developing new methods to analyze and interpret data, and then to improve sales by applying the above 2 steps. We can use Google Glass for the first and second step. The third step is up to you of how you want to take the new data that we can give you and apply it to better your sales. So first, let's speak about data collection. And I want to point out one thing that's very interesting. If you asked me 6 months ago what was market research, I would have no idea. So when we started getting involved in the market research industry, I started to read textbooks and handbooks on market research to learn all about it. And I found this, which is very interesting. To summarize it, this is from the Basic Marketing Research handbook, and it's the official training guide from Qualtrics. And it basically says that if there is a device that has a retina and a pupillometric camera and a cyclogalvanometer, which is basically a device that can measure electromagnetic waves, so if we have a device like that and we're able to do careful and detailed observations of behavior that would not be made before, that is very important for market research. So, and this was written before Google Glass came out, but it's basically describing a lot of the technology that's in Google Glass. So it has been known in the market research industry that a device such as this could be very useful. So very briefly, the conscious state of mind, as I'm sure you're all aware, is it's when a person is aware and is responding to one's surroundings. And when someone is conscious of an external factor, they don't act the same way that they would if they were just with their family, or even if they were just shopping in a store, but they didn't know that they were being recorded or what was being recorded. The current methods of analysis and market research data doesn't reach its full potential because there is a certain level of contamination of people making a different decision due to the fact that they are conscious of the fact that you're watching them. So we think there's 2 parts to enhancing data capture. The first is Google Glass, and the second is to use artificial intelligence to extract and then solve whatever problem you have. And the main part of this is to change the point of view from the business to the consumer. And what I mean by that is the way market research needs to be done if you're using Google Glass is you need a step is the information that you would be receiving through Google Glass is it would basically be where the consumer went in the store, why they went in this aisle first, in that aisle, why they looked at one product over another. And one of the most amazing things are if they are simply looking at a shelf, and if a shelf maybe 20 products, through a Google Glass, we can tell you exactly what product they were looking at and where on the product they were looking at. So it's types of information that even if you had the person holding a cell phone as they went through the shop, you wouldn't be able to get that type of data from them, especially because of the fact that the cell phone camera or a mystery shopping camera is not at the line of sight. And something else that we are able to do to solve the problem of the consumer having unconscious behavior is if we are doing a pilot where the person is wearing a Google Glass for 1 or 2 weeks, they don't know when you're videotaping, when you're taking retina tracking data, or when you're doing what. And it's all random. And when you are doing it, nothing would show up on Glass. Of course, they would have consented to that, and that's why it's okay, but other than it's legal and all that good stuff. But if you are capturing data and they don't know when you're capturing data, then they're not altering their behavior because of it. So the first thing we want to talk about is Google Glass plus the Glassic AI. And I'm sorry if you guys, for those of you that aren't tech people, AI stands for artificial intelligence. I should have pointed that out earlier. It's basically new methods that are geared around the consumer experience. But one thing I want to point out is that from everything we learned about market research, it seems that the way everything is working, the way everything is perfect. So we're not actually changing any methods or changing the way current market research is done, but we're just enhancing them. So the way that this would work is by using the retina tracker that is within Glass and the video camera that is at the line of sight. Let's just say we're videotaping someone throughout the entire store. As they are walking through the store, and you could have one person doing it at one time, you could have 100 people doing it at one time. Is you have 100 people in a store, and they're all wearing Glass, and it's all linked to Wi-Fi or whatever type of data connection. And in real time, the video and the retina tracking data is being recorded and sent to a backend to be viewed. So what's actually going on is as the person is walking through the store, the artificial intelligence is telling you exactly what they did and why they did it. And the reason this is useful is as soon as they are walking out of the store or exiting the store, because you know why they did what they did, you can very quickly send them 1 or 2 quick survey questions that you would want to ask. But instead of a basic one-size-fits-all survey, it's a survey that is customized based on why they did something. So why did you pick this spaghetti over that spaghetti? Because we know from all your previous shopping experiences, you always buy that brand. What made you go to the other brand, and things like that. And because we have a gyroscope inside of Glass and all sorts of technology like that, by pairing it with the people tracker on the camera, we can tell exactly where they were looking and if they were focused in it, if they were concentrated in it, and things like that. So we believe it could be used in 3 ways. The first is retail market research, which I just went over. The second is advertising effectiveness, which it's basically not that different from the way that you would use a traditional eye tracking unit. The only difference is, while traditional eye tracking units can cost you thousands of dollars, Google Glass will be under the $1,000 mark when the consumer version launches, and from our testing so far, it's definitely a more accurate way to do retina tracking, plus it has all the other sensors and technology into it. So for advertising effectiveness, very simply, if you want them to look at a website, let's say, and you could tell if they're eyes were drawn to certain places, or if you have a billboard, a banner, an advertisement somewhere, and you want to see how people reacted towards it, if they just glanced over it, if they were concentrated in it, and then by using the psychogalvanometer, if I'm probably not pronouncing it right, but if we use that sensor, we can also tell the range of electromagnetic waves that are on the surface of the skin, and by combining that with also tagging their voice, we can get a very good idea with about 80% accuracy of what the person's emotion is. So they're excited about seeing that banner, they're disgusted they saw that banner, they're sad they saw that banner, and different things like that. And then the third thing is we can use this for interactive surveys. What do I mean by that? I recently bought a coffee machine about a month ago for my house, and inside of the coffee machine is this little piece of paper in every single coffee machine with like 10 or 15 market research questions. Who are you? What race are you? Why do you buy the coffee machine? Blah blah blah. And I know from experience that if you even fill those out, I always lie just to mess with the statistics. Not anymore that I got involved with this, but let's be honest, I'm sure we all know a lot of people lie on those. But the other problem is that it's one size fits all once again, and there's a lot of times when the research doesn't get you the answer that you need to get because the question isn't being asked exactly the way it needs to be. So what we can do instead of Google Glass is on your coffee machine, instead of putting that piece of paper in the box, you're going to put a QR code or some sort of ID tag on the coffee machine. And the person will have already consented to do this. But randomly, for a period of 2 weeks or a month, however you want, every time Google Glass sees that the person is using the coffee machine, it will randomly take pictures, take videos, use retina tracking, and analyze how the person is using the coffee machine, how often they use it, what coffee they make with it, things like that. And then based on that, 2 or 3 weeks later, on Glass, you can very quickly and very shortly ask a 1 or 2 market research questions. Why did you do that with the coffee machine versus doing this? And that way you can get data based on how people are actually using it, not how on a one-size-fits-all survey fits. So those are 3 of the ideas that we have for ways of capturing data. I now want to move to interpreting the data. So the first thing we have is what we call sentiment analysis version 2. We call it that because we couldn't come up with a better name, but in essence it really is sentiment analysis, and this is powered by 2 things. The first is a Glassic artificial intelligence backend that we developed, and the second is the Google Prediction API. For those of you that aren't familiar with the Google Prediction API, it was originally developed as the API Gmail uses to detect if something is spam or not. However, about a year and a half ago, Google also started gearing it that it could be used towards traditional sentiment analysis and a big data, but it never really caught on that much. So what is sentiment analysis version 2? It's basically a way that we think, well, I shouldn't say think, that we're in the progress of proving that it's a way to use Google Glass and use the data we get from Google Glass to prove, not to prove, but to figure out exactly what a person's emotion is. But so, and that is also the traditional, it is also what regular sentiment analysis is trying to do, but we're doing it in a different way. So traditional sentiment analysis, or it's also called opinion mining, is essentially a way to search through tons of big data and figure out what a person is feeling. However, what we've been told is because of the fact that it's done through big data, through Facebook and Twitter, and there is a lot of problems with the fact that things on Twitter or Facebook or online as a big data, it can be something the person just wrote but isn't true or not how the person felt. A lot of usual sentiment analysis, and you may know better than me, is more of a novelty than a way that you can do actual research. So the way we do it instead is we can either scour through videos online if you want to do that, but more importantly, we can be using this real time while you are videotaping something in a supermarket, or whatever setting, or an advertisement of the while the person is wearing glass. And so what happens is the first part is we use artificial intelligence as well as a recognition system that the server or the software would know what everything is. So it would recognize that's a billboard that says that for this company. You know, oh, that's a car, that's a this, that's a that, uh, that's a whatever. And then it would also know where the person is looking at. Um, so by using retina tracking and pupil tracking, as we discussed, it knows exactly what you are doing, why you are, you know, why you're doing it, and then how you feel about it. So so it's one thing to know that the person, saw the advertisement for that movie, and he was concentrated in it, but it's another to know he saw the advertising for the movie and he was excited about it, or no, he was concentrated at it because he was disgusted by it or he hated it or something like that. And then because we can do this in real time, you can right away, right there, ask a question on glass. Why did you feel that way? And it can either be a multiple choice, or the person can very quickly tap on glass, say, talk a sentence or two sentences, tap it again, and it gets sent, and that's the end of it. So the main difference is that it's video instead of text, and that we're also able to use all these extra things like object recognition to know what the context is and know where everything is, and use people tracking to know exactly what the person is doing. But of course, this is not a standalone process, and it has to, until it's proven all the way, it needs to be done with a bunch of other research methods. Okay, so very briefly, how we can use GLASS to enhance the current data analysis methods. Surveys, I already went over the interactive survey example with the coffee machine. The next is the individual depth interviews and focus groups. These two, as far as how we can use GLASS, are linked together very closely. What they do is that if everyone is wearing glass inside of the room, and also whoever is leading the interview or leading the focus group is wearing glass, they can tell exactly what emotions the person is actually feeling that they're talking to. And other person could say, "Yeah, I love this advertisement," but a glass could be telling you, "No, they're lying. They don't like it." Things like that. And in focus groups, it can also be used if you're having them, I don't know, test a website or a poster or a billboard or a video game or something like that. Once again, we can use the retina tracking and the cyclogalvanometer to tell how the person is feeling, and also, like what part of the website immediately caught their eye, and things like that. Secondary research is more or less sentiment analysis that we've been over. And then observations and field trials, experimenting is once again the retina tracking and the way that we can use that technology. So last but not least is to improve sales by applying the above two steps. So when we finish, the other two steps, what you would have at the end is some sort of a summary of your different pools of customers. So whether, like 15-year-old girl, 20-year-old boy, blah, 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 because Glass has that data. And in a retail setting, you would have data on exactly what they did, why they did, where they went, why this advertisement was effective, for this. So maybe you have an advertisement that you're trying to gear towards 15-year-old girls, but the data actually shows 15-year-old girls weren't attracted to this advertisement. You attracted 22-year-old girls, and because you attracted 22-year-old girls, they weren't interested in the product you were selling, and that's why your sales were not as good as they could be. And it could tell you all sorts of little things like that. And the way that it can actually tell you something as sophisticated as that is, we would put the advertisement or whatever you want within the a back-end system. So within the object recognition system, it would know that that advertisement is advertisement you are talking about, that and you're tracking towards 15-year-old girls, and then it would know that through comparing all the retina tracking data, it knows that person B, C, D, G, Z, whatever, those people were attracted to it, and then it would know that those people are other 22-year-old girls, and then it could actually tell you where the rest of the crowd that you were trying to attract, which competitor of yours they actually went to. And like in a setting like a mall, for example, that could be very useful and important. But the one thing I want to say is, these are our ideas for what we can do with market research. The world is definitely, there's tons of stuff we can do. So it just also depends on, as we more and more see what the need of the industry is, we can very easily adapt it towards whatever needs to be done. So thank you very much. That's the end of my presentation. If you want to get in touch with me, the best way is LinkedIn. I recommend you write my last name down if you want to look me up on LinkedIn, because there's no way you're going to remember it unless you're Persian, because then your last name is probably even crazier than mine. Yeah, that's the end of mine.
Thank you, David. And in fact, I found in LinkedIn, if you type in David Z-A-K, it makes a pretty good guess of finding you. For those people who are interested in seeing these devices live, David and I are going to be together in Singapore in just a few weeks. And I believe, David, that you're going to have about 10 sets with you.
Yeah, we'll have about 10 or more with us, and we'll hopefully have as much of the market research software as we can have loaded onto these things. So, I mean, it's one thing for me to sit here and explain it to you. It's one thing for us to be able to put it on you, and you could experience the software hands-on, or you can just experience Glass hands-on.
And just while we're on that, so that's one event with MRMW in Singapore in March. Are there any other market research events that you're going to be at in the next couple of weeks, or sorry, couple of months?
As of now, there are no plans as far as market research events, but if there are, I'll be sure to let you know.
Super. I'm sure that people will be really interested to see that. So, it brings us to Q&A, and I'm just looking across to the notes we've been putting together. And I know that Glassic is looking at more than just market research. So what else is Glassic looking at in terms of applying this technology?
Yeah, so as far as and you'll have to excuse me, my thing is going insane with all the beeps on the LinkedIn requests. That's beeping noise. We have the opinion, and I founded Glassic on the fact that I don't believe glass or these types of so wearable devices can be a mass consumer device at all until maybe 2-3 years from now, because as of right now, yay, it's Google Glass, let's put it on, but from the consumer perspective, it's just a really expensive camera. And it doesn't have that much more functionality yet that would be useful to a consumer. So we're looking at everything of that. It can be used as a business tool. It can be used as a tool in different sectors and industries, and this and that. And so we are looking at about 25 industries right now. The main three are market research. Aviation is another big industry on ways we can use it with pilots in the a cockpit and things like that. We're looking at it as a tool for a defense, especially because of the way that glass transmits the data. It doesn't block. I mean, it transmits noise. It doesn't block your. It doesn't block your ears. It vibrates the bone of the back of your head. It's a bone conductive, and it also has a screen. So it's a way to communicate data to soldiers or snipers, visual and sound. And there's no way that people around them would be able to hear it. But real estate's another one of virtual walkthroughs and things like that. The music industry is huge for glass. Just whatever we can come up with, we're basically conquering it.
Super, David. There's lots and lots of interest about the AI coming in from different angles. So I'll try to sort of pull those together into sort of one overriding thing. The AI you're talking about, is that a Glassic product? Is it a Google product? Is it a
It's
third-party
yeah.
thing?
The artificial intelligence is Glassic's in-house artificial intelligence backend.
And is that in use in terms of this understanding content video? Because we're not going to be able to get to all of these topics today, but a lot of things you're talking about are very hot topics in the research world, like being able to process video, being able to process images.
Yeah, it can be used for all sorts of things. Like you brought up processing video and images. Someone had told me at the last market research event I was speaking at that traditionally, if you have half an hour of video, it takes 1 hour for a person to look through it. The first and the easiest thing we can use the artificial intelligence for is it can automatically sort through that video for you for whatever you're looking for in a matter of 30 seconds for a 1 hour, 2 hour video. But it can be used for that. It can be used to identify different objects and things like that that are within the a video feed of the vicinity of whatever you're doing, things like that. But I mean, artificial intelligence, is one thing. Artificial intelligence that we're trying to run on this tiny little pair of glasses is another. So it's all very early beta stuff. But it's getting there. But the hope is that we can use it to literally make it artificial intelligence. So whatever, the eventual goal is to get it to whatever question you're trying to solve in market research. We input it into the system. It tells you, okay, put this many glasses on this many different types of people and go videotape for this many weeks, and then I'll tell you and let you know what the answer to your problem is.
Great. We are getting masses of questions, so we'll probably have to send some of them to you afterwards to see if you can tackle them. But we'll get through as many as we can. I'm going to start with move on to some really simple, quick ones. Can somebody activate your Google Glass by standing next to you and saying, Google Glass?
Yeah, as of now, yes, but and every time I'm in the Google offices, we have this problem. But the mass consumer version that will come out, I don't know the date, but I would assume maybe about a year from now, we'll have voice signatures. So it will be linked to your voice. So if you say OK Glass and you're next to someone else that has Glass on, it won't activate it.
Excellent. And that's kind of jumped to the next question about when are these going to be available. Do you know if they're going to be available outside the US? Because I think all of the pioneers are based in the US, aren't they?
Yeah, so the way Google Glass started being passed out was at the 2012 Google Developer Conference, and I got involved with it through this um, event. That's when Google's co-founder announced that we're working on Glass, and they had the skydivers jump into downtown San Francisco, and we all had a good time. And they announced that it, it would be available to the 1,500 US-based attendees that were at the conference. And the reason at that point was because I think at that point the FCC had not even approved it yet. And then when we all started getting our glasses at the beginning of this year, the FCC approved it, and then we got it. So it's been slowly being rolled out. And I think it recently got the CE certificate from the European Union on the second version of the prototype. So it's mostly just a regulatory problem as of now, because it's just a prototype. But as soon as the consumer version comes out, and I don't speak for Google on this, but I'm pretty sure that you will be able to buy it anywhere in the world.
Super. Okay, that takes us to privacy, and there are stacks and stacks of questions coming through in privacy. Let's start with sort of the general, and then we'll come back to the market research related ones. So, what are the sort of privacy issues that you're bumping into day to day, simply wearing one as you do, and as you're developing the business?
Yeah, so the there's yeah regarding privacy, there's a few obvious problems with it. The first is, and I brought this up a long time ago, and a lot of other people did as well, is this is the NSA's dream. If we're all wearing these cameras mounted to our head, if someone, if not just NSA, but if someone can get a back door to this, you can literally map out the entire world live, how everyone sees everything. So that's one of the major concerns people have. I don't have it because honestly, in this day and age, to in our personal world, privacy doesn't exist. It's in reality it doesn't, especially with the NSA and all this new stuff going on. But that's a concern. The concern from the consumer standpoint is that there's a video camera, but there's no red dot on it. And I always have that problem because I like to wear glass everywhere, regardless of you can't have cameras in here. And I also wear it when I go through customs and passport control, just because I want to see what the reaction is. And a lot of the time they start yelling at you and they give you a hard time because they think you're videotaping. And the one thing I want to point out is when glass is videotaping, although there is no indicator light on it, the screen itself is on and you can see the reflection. So if someone is videotaping, you do know they're videotaping. But that's a major concern. But I mean, on that, then again, it's just a it's just a prototype again. So we don't know what the consumer version will have or not have. And the other privacy issue is is your data secure on it and all that. But as far as that one is concerned, it's more or less the same thing as a cell phone. So your data is just as secure as a cell phone, if not more secure. And like it's through Gmail and services like that your data is put onto glass. So it's all as safe as it already is.
And then kind of the next category of privacy issues from actually we'll see with social ones. So what about where you are recording something that people would not want to be seen, and will stay away from bathrooms and bedrooms and things like that, but simply entering PIN codes and things like this? Has this cropped up in discussion yet?
Yes, and yeah, it has. And there was like before Google Glass was started being passed out. There was an article I read that wrote, uh, what do you do if someone wears a Google Glass into a public restroom? And I think it's more or less right now it's a scary thing because only a few people have it. But I think with things like that, once everyone has it, it's not going to be as big as a deal because we'll get over the fear of it because we all have it. But I mean, these days everything is in. If it's something you're doing, if there's something you're doing that you don't want to be recorded, it's better you just don't do it in public.
Super, David. And then we come to sort of the very market research specific one, and this is a topic which had already started in terms of using cell phones for ethnography projects, life logging cameras, and things like this. So we can get the consent of somebody to take part in a research project. And if they go into a supermarket and they go around the mall and there's nobody else there, we get all the eye tracking data, which is fantastic. But if other people are there, how do we get market research consent for their images to be captured, since that will also be personal data?
We don't need consent because that data will never be viewed or used. What happens is because like other people within the scene are extraneous to what we're trying to do. So if there are other people all around, like I don't know if we're testing the effectiveness of like an advertisement or a display within a store, and there's all sorts of faces from other people. After the artificial intelligence has quickly ran through it, it destroys the video. And if you're doing it in real time, as it's collecting the data in real time, it's deleting the video. Or if you're doing it in real time, you could have it not even recording the video. It will only be recording the data from the video of what you did paired with your retina tracking data. So the whenever you're in a setting where others people's privacy is involved, we just don't use the video, or we don't record the video, or we don't even use the video. However, a Glassic definitely intends to be a leader in protecting privacy, and we are doing whatever we can to work with the local authorities and U.S. Congress and Google itself as well to try to be on the forefront of privacy.
Excellent. And that's very consistent, I have to say, with what I'm hearing from a lot of the privacy panels in the UK and from SMR, which is that it's not about what you collect, it's about what happens to it after you collect it. You certainly can't share it with other people, but if you've collected it, you can look at it and you can draw inferences. Seems to be one of the things that's moving forward. In terms of where you are today, are you able to recognize things like, so if you're in the mall, you're looking at some brands, does the AI currently is able to recognize the brands for you, or is that still part of the development phase?
I mean, it's at a beta stage, but it's definitely recognizable. So when you say brands, do you mean like if like it sees like a shirt or something, like a shirt or a product, knows what brand it is, or like if it sees like an advertisement, it knows what brand the advertisement belongs to?
Well, I've actually got on my desk here a bottle of Pepsi Max. So if it saw Pepsi Max on the shelf, would it recognize that? If it saw an ad for Pepsi Max, would it recognize that?
Absolutely. It can either do text it can either do object recognition and figure out what the text is on the Pepsi Max bottle or whatever, and Google and figure out what it is. Or if we put the Pepsi Max bottle in the recognition database and we told it this is a Pepsi Max bottle, whenever it saw it, it would know this is a Pepsi Max bottle. And obviously, if we save things in the database, it would be a very simple and straightforward for it to find it. And I mean, as far as recognition, we're able to do a character, text, object, and logo recognition. And obviously, because I'm sure this is going to come up next, is this is the same type of technology, yes, that we do use with facial recognition, but facial recognition is a presentation for another day. And regarding the privacy on that, we're also on the forefront of that, and we're definitely trying to shape the laws around it, and definitely not doing anything to violate any laws with that.
Thank you. I mean, there have been one or two questions about facial recognition, facial coding, and lie detecting. So I think we'll invite you back probably in a few months, and we'll have maybe a session looking specifically at that. That would be great. You mentioned eye tracking briefly, and there are devices out there that people can wear to walk around a shopping centre, things like Tobii glasses. So do you see yourself as a direct competitor for that, or as a different sort of option? What would you see as the strengths and the benefits?
Well, the eye tracking is our software, but the hardware is obviously Google's hardware or whoever other hardware we're using at that point in time, as far as a glasses type device. So I wouldn't view us as a competitor, especially because the main purpose of glass isn't retina tracking for market research. It's just one of the things we're able to do with it. So while not a competitor, I would view glass as as a new type of technology that can also be used for retina tracking and eye tracking and things like that.
Now, one of the interesting possibilities that someone has mentioned here is that there are things like Apple's IBeacon now, which will send out a signal to your phone if you've signed up and you've got the app to say you've walked into a Starbucks or you've walked into a Macy's, for example. Shopkick, I think, have set up a whole bunch of Macy's with iBeacons. Have you looked into the possibility of linking this to Google Glass as well, so that you've got either a sales message or a market research message, depending on who you were talking to, linked to things like iBeacon or sonic recognition techniques?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're using it for exactly that with Google Glass, as well as uh, um, to help us figure out exactly where the person is inside of the store. So instead of, so if we've mapped and when we do it, is you would normally map the inside of a retail space, whatever space we're in, beforehand. And then this is not through Google Maps, by the way. I just want to make that clear. Um, is we'll map it, and then by having the beacons placed throughout different places, we can also figure out exactly where the person is through the beacons technology, and not just by what the artificial intelligence says. So it's kind of a fail-safe for the artificial intelligence.
And another one of these practical questions, which I mean, there was certainly a laugh around the office here when you mentioned Google Glass in the Google offices, and we can imagine that certainly being a case. Imagine we've got 50 people involved in a test. Is there a method of communicating with Glass that doesn't require speaking?
Yeah, so the ways that you can input data into Glass is by speaking. The entire side of Google Glass on the right side is a touchpad. It works very similar to a trackpad on a laptop. You can scroll side to side. Well, you can scroll down. You could tap. You can use two fingers to pinch or zoom, things like that. So if I wanted to take a picture, I could say, "Okay, Glass, take a picture." Actually, no, I'm sorry. That's not a good example because there's another way to take a picture. If I wanted to, let's say, start a Google Hangout, I can either say, "Okay, Glass, start a Hangout," or I can tap, or I can tap it once so it gets to the screen that says, "Okay, Glass." I can tap it again and I can scroll to find Hangouts. The other ways of communicating with Glass is with head gestures. So if you look up, the screen on Glass turns on. Um, we've also played around with different ways. If you have like if you like a ring you could wear or something, and if you do gestures on the ring, it wakes up Glass and navigates through Glass. So I mean, there's all sorts of types of things. But in a market research standpoint, if we have even if we have 5,000 people, let's say, in one space using Google Glass for market research, we don't need to worry about that because this is all software running in the back end. The person doesn't need to do anything because the whole purpose is the person doesn't know when we're videotaping them and when they're not. So even if they're interacting with Glass, they wouldn't be interacting with it for the market research. They would be just having fun using Google Glass, not knowing, well, they would know, yes, that we're taping them, but they wouldn't know when or why. And the way we do that is because they sign consent and all that good stuff.
Which that last point just links to another of the sort of the practical technical questions. When you are recording, is that being transferred immediately through to you? Is it being transferred to Google? Does it go to their phone as a recording and then it's uploaded later? Just how does that little bit of the process work?
So if I just took out Glass and said, "Okay, Glass, record a video," it would save the video on my Google Glass itself, and then when Glass is connected to internet and it's plugged in charging, it would sync the video up to my Google Plus account and save it in a private album there. However, I guess that's the way it works if you just taking a video traditionally. If we are doing it for market research. With our market research software, and we're saving all this video. In reality, we can really do whatever we want to do with the video. If you want it in real time being transmitted, we can do it in real time. And then, like I said, in real time, it'd be destroyed as soon as we suck the data out of the video. And we definitely have the capability to manage and secure the data on the Glassic side. But it's just a matter of whatever you want to do with the video. If you say, let's save it in Dropbox, we'll save it in Dropbox. If you say in real time, let's analyze it in real time, we'll analyze it. If you say we'll send it to our servers and we'll analyze it tomorrow, we can do that. It's just, as I like to say, software development is just another language. So whatever it is that for that use case we need to do, we can do.
Super. Now, one of the areas where I've glossed over today is the whole area of sentiment analysis, because there's a really extended debate in the industry about what the potential is for that. So I think we'll leave that for another session and perhaps bring in some of the pros, the antis, and the skeptical pros. Just one practical question and then one more processing question, and then I think we absolutely will have to wrap it up. I'm very thankful for how much time you've been able to spare us this morning, David. Prescription glasses. Can people with prescription glasses use Google Glass?
Ray, you couldn't have asked at a better time. As of yesterday, yes, you can. If anyone wants to go look, just go to glass.google.com or google.com/glass, and the first thing you'll see is the new Google Glass Titanium collection, is what we call it. Or what they call it, and it's a way. It's Google's. It's also different frames you can get for glass to make it look more stylish, and then you can have prescription lenses installed in it. But as of yesterday, those can be purchased by people that currently have glass, and as we can assume, the consumer version or the mass market version, as I like to call it, will also have the prescription version available, and there are also a few third-party options you can get through. I think Rochester Optical has one. There's another one through the Wetly. There's all sorts of different types of things. But as of like the past week and a half, it's definitely possible to get prescription lenses in glass.
Great timing. Okay, so it's a fun question. There's a lot of questions, queries about how are we going to analyze the data, analyze this, pull the information together. Am I right in thinking, David, that your vision is not lots and lots of people, but some really smart AI doing most of the work?
Yeah, absolutely, because especially if we're going to do something where we have 200-300 people for 2 weeks wearing this thing, and you're capturing video, there's not enough manpower that you'll be able to find to sort through all this. So it definitely needs to be an artificial intelligence backend that is sorting through all this video. But we'll definitely still need to have market researchers to define the parameters of what we want the AI to analyze and take out of the video.